Be vertical on both accounts. Okay. Alright, good evening, afternoon. Doing some kind of weirdly differently thing today. What happens when you watch other YouTube videos? I watched Richard Raffin the other day, and he was using some little scraps of wood. So the little brain says, I have lots of those same little scraps of wood laying around. Not deep enough. So, and my daughter makes little paper flowers, very intricate little paper flowers, no less. So I figured I would make some teeny tiny little vases. Now these little scraps of wood that was left over. Need to reset that collar one of these days. So we'll clean up the end first. Teeny tiny little dimple for the drill bit. Make that first order of business. Little flowers are made on a really small kind of wire. Flower speed down a little bit. Little drill bits will clog up very quickly with wood chips. In this case, that's pretty much going to be drilled as deep as it'll go, which is deep enough, more than deep enough probably. So now we'll create a bit of a cone down in there. First order of business. Don't really need to go the whole way out. It's going to shrink down in there in that area quite a bit. But anytime I really had to give it a teeny tiny little sand. It won't take much because it was cleanly cut. With pure end grain that you're cutting across, so either gets cleanly cut or you're in trouble. Very difficult to see an end grain. This one's actually so short. The last one I did, I brought the live center up. I don't think I need to do that. I'm going to try it without it once. See whether we pick up any vibration or anything out of it. Not even absolutely totally round at this point. These are just sort of roughed out. little skin cut across. This is black locust. It's not very friendly to the. You gotta cut it. Try and cut it clean. Don't need to worry about back there. This thing is. Somebody asked me a silly question. About 3 inches long. So if we go in the rule of thirds, somewhere we're gonna lose a little bit. So we'll say somewhere up in that general area. It's gonna be where the bulge of the curve is gonna be at. Stuff loves to chip. I'll just bring this diameter down up here a bit first. Still looks too big. Still too big, I think. Gotta be very relatively sort of gentle with this stuff because it does like to chip quite easily. Sort of the milk jug looking kind of a thing. Nothing chipped that way. all places it wants to chip up down there. That's the other one I did. Just used the chuck to drill the hole. That way I can have access to the whole other piece. So I still have a center point down there. Just use a little small step center. Bring our live center back up right into the center of that hole. A little bit of pressure, not a lot. Now this will give us total access to the whole thing. I think that'll make it a little easier to see what we're doing shaping wise. And they're down here. We're going to lose about 1/8 of an inch, something like that. Something along those lines. I think that curve's okay. Now we gotta get this one to go a little bit differently. I think I see a lump in the middle. I think that could be a little bit smaller or something. Okay, I think that's going to be good for that end. Guess then once the a little bit more of an abrupt curve. That's a little ridge there. It's a little lumpy. Undercut it. We will get rid of the rest of that down there. I think I went too far, as usual. Better. I want this to be one nice, straight, smooth cut down into there. Gotta work. See there? Oh, I thought I heard something ticking. A little bit of a something there. A little bit of a bark. And just give it a little character. At least that's what we're gonna call it, a little bit of a little bit of character on there. Now we get to do our favorite pastime. Even though it's nice and shiny, that's what it looks like when it's a nice bevel supported cut. Also means there's no torn grain or any such thing as that, so it won't take much to sand. Started with 180. I quit being attracted to that dark streak. I thought it was a little bit of a wobble in my tool, and it wasn't. It's that bark inclusion. This curve feels nice. So now it's just a matter of removing the rest of the scratches. All the lovely scratches we just put in. So that's all sanded up. Technically ready to finish at this point, which I probably should do that before I flip it around. What I'm going to do is flip it end for end. I put a dead center up here so I can remove that last bit down there. I'll actually turn that bit off. So we'll finish it while we're here. Make life a little easier. For me, pretty much as always, it's going to be the Parfix 3408, which is a slow setting super glue. Hold that over, it won't make such a mess. Spin at a nice slow pace. Put some on our paper towel, and then we'll just dribble it onto there. Looking for saturation. Down in here, there'll be more end grain down there on that little bit of a part down in there. This black locust is not real thirsty anyhow, so it doesn't take much. Got enough on it, went right straight through the paper towel onto the finger though. That's why we wear gloves. And we'll wipe off the excess. Don't want to leave any sitting on the surface. And that takes care of that. And I guess we better accelerate it a little bit. Just make it a little easier to handle it. This way. So there's where we're at so far. Might actually have to take the drill bit back in there and clean that hole up a little bit, but it's a little vase. Now we're going to flip it around, switch over to our dead center. This one's going to be a little bit, and when I switch it over there, that's going to push them fibers down in that hole. So we're between centers. Just like we were a couple seconds ago. The only difference is we have very little drive force down there. So our cuts will have to be quite light. It's not the end of the world. It just literally will stop spinning. Nice clean cuts, preferably without ridges. So before I go any further in, sneak my little finger in there. Just give that last little bit out here a little bit of a sand. These are certainly not going to be perfect on the bottom. It's just very hard to get in there to do anything. It's leaving sort of like little compression lines in there. At least that's what it looks like, but it's not really. One major thing that we got to look at is make sure that we can go a little bit deeper in the middle. Make sure it's well undercut. And try not to put it on the ground, of course. This is really sort of another scenario of how far do you push it. Especially when you're using a strictly a cone center. You're really probably better off just to give it a place to snap off out in the way, and then just sand that last little bit off. Would probably be our best move, especially since this one here, when I did it earlier today, I didn't have that big of a. Oh, maybe it'll break off. There we go. It just took a little extra force. I'll have to use my really, really little sanding disc in there. Should be able to stick this back onto the drill bit and clean this out up the top. Just leave some little fuzzies around that edge. Or cut across. And we're going to need a little drop of super glue to finish out that top. Because we didn't do that. I could have did that ahead of time, actually, but we didn't. So now we'll do it now. Won't be able to do the bottom until I finish sanding that little nub off. We'll do all of them at one time. So there's one little guy. Kind of a quick and easy, simple project, really. Good use of little tidbits of wood that you got sitting around all over the place. So that one was only about 3 inches tall. This piece is actually about 5 inches tall. And let's go in between that. Next one, this is what I'm going to do all night long, so, or the whole time. I should say all night, but at least until I get bored doing these, which may be rather quickly. Don't need that yet. Need the chuck first. You gotta clean up the end, drill a hole. That's good. Let's do it this way, I guess. So a nice clean cut. Get our little cone happening. It's kind of hard actually to stop right at dead center in there. So we can sort of scrape coming back out across it. Get rid of this super sharp edge there. Now we can draw a hole. And this hole will be as deep as it can go, which is going to be way short of the bottom, but it doesn't really matter. Then you're going to have little itty bitty short flowers in it anyhow. Use a brush rather than your fingers. This is a piece of walnut, so it's a little more forgiving than the locust was. If I can get it in there, it's good. This is as far as we're going to get. Could get a longer drill bit out, I guess, but he really doesn't need any major amount of material removed in there. We'll give it just a little bit of a sand. And starting with 320, 320, 400, and 600 in there. This one will have considerably longer of a neck on it than the other one did. At least that's my thought process in it. Put it that way. It's also going to be much longer, so I think this time I will bring the live center up right from the start. Otherwise, it's probably going to want to give me some vibration. Not totally round yet either. Actually, I have to skip that part. We have our hole drill. We had that, so we might as well save a step. Go right back between centers. So we have a drive center point already. Just enough pressure to get those feet or those teeth to dig in. Actually, if we were so minded, we would use our skew, but I'm pretty sure I was using it earlier, so it's dull. We could solve that problem. We could just go sharpen it quick like. This really would be a project to work on your skew skills. Find the right face shield off, otherwise I'll stick my big head in front of where you're looking or trying to look. So I use my handy dandy little setup block, which one of these days we'll actually get them enough of them made that we can put them on the website. This should only take like 1 or 2 passes on each side. Not quite. I take the same number of passes on each side. That also keeps the tool centered, because we want that to maintain its center line, so to speak. So rest needs to come up. Might be too high, but we'll see here in a second. Skew wants to cut up there at about 11 o'clock area. For sure, business is going to be true the thing up. Quick grinding on. We finished our grinding on the wrong side of it, sort of. I don't take the burr off. You see, the burr was dragging going out across the other way. So, till that burr is gone, it wants to drag a little bit. Which is generally one cut going the other way. So might as well take this end down. Be careful, because we're getting a really sharp edge out here. So we'll take that down a bit. So now we're true anyhow. I don't normally make the little cove that you can do a cove with a skew. It's just not quite as friendly. So let's say our cove is going to end up somewhere about there. So V cut down. Gotta have room. It's still going to be too big. I'm going to have some room to move. The only reason I went back there and cut on that side. We'll say that's where it's going to be. We'll rest up. Now we can go back to our skew. Feels like I got a little burr of metal in my finger. And we do got to remove some material back here. And an eighth of an inch. About what I figured the last time. That point doesn't go real deep in that live center or drive center. And that would be another shape there too. I'm not liking that. It's getting a little aggressive with the skew. Gotta get rid of that. Get rid of that little burr. I'm just using a diamond hone. That burr wants to drag. The rest of that up in there. We will have to do the spindle gouge. Ideally meeting right smack in the middle. The bottom of that cove. That will mean there'll be a whole lot less sanding. Lots of little ridges going across there, but that's gotta sand it anyhow, so I think this end needs to be tucked down in a little bit. Not quite. I left it flat. Flat goes away. Needs a base to sit on. Probably should have left well enough alone when I cut back at that end, but we didn't, so kind of looks like a traditional kind of a vase looking thing, even though it's a whopping 3 inches long. Better make another cut or two in there. It's a little bit of figure coming through there, and it took a little chip out. Make sure I got it out first. Okay, keep going. Little ridge going. Inspect a little bit. Definitely have some ridges in there with where I wasn't using the skew quite as properly as it could be. More like I was rushing it along too much. Nothing a little sandpaper won't take care of in a hurry. As you see, it doesn't take much as long as you cut cleanly. Once all the little lumps and bumps are gone, it's just a matter of reducing the size of the scratches. This is 320, then I will touch this upper rim and around that corner just a little bit. I'm not feeling it to see whether it's smooth. I know it's smooth. I'm just trying to get any excess grit that may have gotten breaks off and embedded in the surface. Last but not least, I should go with the grain. Didn't do that on the other one. You could even do little random orbit circles to break up any of those radial scratches, and they'll be right down in that area, more so than anywhere else. It's sort of a bit of end grain sticking out. Lay it around in there long enough. I got a sharp edge in there. Don't want. Get a clean paper towel to wipe it off. You see the amount of dirt you pull out, especially in walnut, sort of open grained a little bit. That's also pretty much like sanding with about 1,000 grit sandpaper. Last pack of gloves I got at Harbor Freight, or one of the last ones. I thought I got 7mm. These are only 5. So you want to tear it pretty quickly. I'll just roll a paper towel up. Speed down to a crawl. A little bit on the paper towel first, and you just drill some, keeping it plenty wet. Looking for it to saturate it. Let go of the glove without sticking fast. That's a plus. Now we'll dry it off. We only want what soaks into the wood. We don't want any laying on the surface. This one here, this particular glue does not like that. If you leave stuff sitting on the surface, it doesn't know what to do. It can't soak in, so it just lays there. Using way more activator on these than what I really need to, but I want to keep moving with them. Now we're back to the dead center. Nothing more than a solid steel cone is all they are. They're really used in the metalworking lathe industry more so than the woodworking industry. But it's a good thing to use in the wood area in the lathe industry, our wood lathe industry, because it has literally very little driving force. So you have to be very methodical with your tools. Cut nice and light touch. Can't force it, or else it'll just stop and spin. And just make a series of real little cuts. Should be able to come right back up here to this rim. And a slow, steady cut into the center, in towards center. want to get that pretty small down in there. Give it a place to break off well out away from the very bottom so it doesn't pull out fibers out of the center. If we could go a little smaller than that. What I did earlier today, I actually cut it off while it was on the lathe. Not a very nice sound because then it squeals on that center. It didn't totally cut it completely off, just about. A lot less sanding in there. That takes a little 1-inch disc sander. Is how I sand them in there. I might have one I'll be able to put on and do it up here, but see, I use the Fordham to do this. A little 1-inch disc sander. It's just will make life so much easier. So, grab one of our paper towels here that's not so gunked up, and we'll put just a little bit of super glue on that top bit. And that's another one finished. Almost finished. Or a little bit. Just a little bit in there on the end. That's all end grain. It'll soak it right up. Really quick and easily. Didn't mean put the glove on because I didn't. Paper towel, I didn't put much on it. Wipe off the excess. And we're good. There's 2 of them done. 2 totally different shapes. Sort of. It'd all be little twig pots, I guess you call them. Weed pots. Next one we'll do. So that was locust. First one was locust. Second one was walnut. This one's going to be hackberry. This one actually could be one that you could be really creative with and do. You could actually give this a color because it is white. A white, kind of a whitish wood. This is even smaller yet, so this will be a totally different shape. It doesn't even make 3 inches with the tenon, so we're only looking at 2.5 inches, something like that. But we gotta start out with the chuck so we can drill a hole. So we'll start out with our small spindle gouge. See if I have the right Allen wrench over here. I do. I have stock collars on these. Somehow or another, I moved that one up considerably. So I thought I had it set before where it was right on the money for the 3/8 spindle gouge. Although that might mess me up if I set it that high. I think that'll work. Gonna readjust this collar down to where it was, maybe slightly up. Just makes it easier when you're moving stuff around all the time. Kind of a lazy man's way of doing things, I guess. Just give it a nice little coat. Come here. Dish it out a little bit. Don't need to go very far out to do it either. And you do need to get almost right on center to do it. Else my drill bit won't start in the center. As I say, everything else will do fine on that, but hackberry is not going to be one of them. Did not like that. Knock this corner off where I hit my finger on it. It's going to go away anyhow. Yeah, drill the hole, and then I'll finish that last little bit in the middle. It likes to dig in a little bit right dead center. Guess I should look to make sure I'm not going to drill out the other side. Nope. If you're liking what you see and feel it's worthwhile, you could hit that trusty little subscribe button and help an old man out a little bit. Come on. Doesn't like to pick up on the edge. That's more like it. Edge doesn't really matter because that's all going to go away. So that should work. Only one time to give it a little sand, so I take that opportunity. It is pure end grain, so it should, the last cut should have made it nice and clean, which it did. It did not like the sort of the dragging kind of a cut from the last go when I did it earlier. It wants to cut rather than being scraped. That's sanded complete, clean and complete. Now we're back between centers. A little stab center is what I'm using for the drive. And I'll bring up some tension. First order of business is to clean up, make it round, because it probably is not running perfectly true right at the moment. Nope, it's a little wobbly. Pretty much just one pass each way with the skew will take care of that. And this is going to be too small to be messing with the, pretty much messing with the skew. And this will start down here and this time we're not going to, I'm not going to leave any extra down there. See what I mean? If you get too aggressive with it, it wants to, even with the stab center, it will release. So that's that end. This cove up here is probably going to be much, much smaller. Gotta have room to move though. I'll make a V cut down in there. I don't, just look at another possibility would be a curve. I almost wish I wouldn't have cut so much off of that bottom. I think I'm just going to try that and slope that going that direction once. See what it will look like. If you're getting there, I think it could be. Step back and look at it. Turn my head sideways so I can look at it as it would sit on the table. I think it could be a little bit further down. And that's getting rid of more and more of my curve, which is what I wanted it to do. My little curve at the bottom. So we're down to about 1/8 of an inch down there. So that should be about what we need. Looks like I need to make one clean cut that way. Otherwise, it's nice and cleanly cut. I think we could taper it a little bit more. A little bit bigger of a cut than I should have made, but if I go nice and slow, should cooperate. Should, didn't. A little bit of chippy there. So just another nice little fine cut. Should have taken should have taken care of the chips. Yep, I think. I have a line in there from the gouge. So we'll make one little cut here. Into that corner. Right into that corner. That should work. We could even burn a line down in there. That would be a thought too. Burn a line right straight in the bottom of that groove. Other than that, I think that'll be okay. Just kind of a different kind of a shape. Should clean up this bottom here while I'm here. I'll have to do it again anyhow, but at least I'll get rid of some of it before I spin it around. And we're back to sanding some more. Our favorite pastime. So we did it all with almost all of it, majority of it with a skew. So in this case, sanding will start at 220. And it's really just the body. I don't want to sand any. I could sand down in here. But that surface and that end surface is all pretty much all end grain sticking out. So the less deep scratches I put in there, the better we are. we're about ready to get some new sandpaper. Wasn't cutting very well. So that's 400. One more to go. I thought I was going to burn a line. Getting ahead of myself. In order to burn the line, we got to go back up to higher, much higher speed. That gives it a little separation. I think we are going to color this one just for the heck of it. See what it'll do. Let's do that one. I have a magenta, which is one that comes from Craft Supply USA. These are alcohol based. So I want to open the pores of the wood back up. And just spraying it. That's denatured alcohol. It only takes a couple seconds to dry. We can even force it to dry just with our paper towel. Oh, that's right. This magenta is more red, not purple. I was thinking it was purple. Rub it in good. And even go over it a second time, make it a little darker. Because I probably will take some alcohol and go over it again. This one I won't be able to do anything else with pretty much today. I could maybe put a coat of shellac on it, maybe. This one, these dyes from Craft Supply, I don't know. I did read the thing on it. They have shellac in it, which a lot of these do. This one must actually have more shellac in than what the chestnut stains do. Because it doesn't really want to cooperate very well with the super glue, and that's generally why it will do that, is because of the shellac. There's more than just a little bit in there. So we'll get the top squared away, put it back between centers. just to hold it while it sets up. You spray it with the alcohol like that, it really soaks in certain places. It was really getting totally a different color, more muted color because there's less coloring there. You mess with any of this stuff, you got to be a little bit mindful in what you're doing with the paper towel. It does have alcohol in it, denatured alcohol in it. So we don't want to roll that up into a ball or something like that. There's the shellac coming off. Sort of use the heat of the paper towel to set it. Sort of forces it to dry. So that's that for that. So it's pretty much dry to the touch now. I know from past experience I definitely can't go after it with the super glue, even though that's what I'd like to do. It also has quite a bit of open grain. I think I'm going to put just a little bit of, I'm going to put a little shellac over top of it. Just a little light coat. Let the speed down so we don't wear it. It's going to reactivate the dye again. It's not that big of a deal. Just want a nice little light coat out across that. Let it spin. It'll spin dry pretty quick. At least dry enough that I can take it off without it sticking to my fingers. What would be really kind of neat would be to see if it can, probably shouldn't be rushing it. Yeah, it's a little tacky to your fingers. So I think we'll just carefully take this one off and set it off to the side. Should actually put a tiny bit of shellac up there on that top as well. Seal that up a little bit. I think that would look kind of neat with the little bit of silver grain filler on it. Might look Christmassy though, but I'm going to set that one off to the side. Another project not quite done, of course, but Anybody have any questions, comments? Like what you see? Hit the trusty subscribe button would be wonderful. Since that wasn't quite the right color. Another one of the hackberry ones. These little pieces basically come off of a bowl blank. The corners that you would cut away to make a round circle in a log, so to speak. There's always 3 or 4 inches on the either end that are susceptible to where the cracking would be. So I generally get rid of them pretty quick. This last go around when I did some of these, they weren't too cracked up, but they weren't really big enough to get a secondary bowl out of it. I had a bunch of these little pieces. Okay. So there's our at least the start of our cone dug out. Drill a hole so I can finish digging it out. You should be able to drill the whole way down. Yep. Tailstock does not necessarily like doing that maneuver and just using the tailstock and pushing it forward. Likes to chat a little bit. I think that one went a little bit off center to go with it. Nobody will ever know the difference. Now we can clean that up. We know for sure that's going to be smaller anyhow. It's not a perfectly clean hole in there this time. One of the things we can do is we could stick the point of our skew in there and just sort of open it up a little bit, clean it up a little bit. And we need new sandpaper all the way around. Just a little bit of sand in there while we're here. So that was 320, 400. A little bit of 600 will take care of that. Kind of fun to do these little projects because they don't take very long. Good use of some material that otherwise would be thrown in the firewood bin. Good practice with the tools, making shapes that suit you, things like that. Just enough pressure to make it dry. And remember, we're driving a wedge in there, so we don't want to see how hard we can push on it. Kind of like the shape of that last one now. Might just do another one like that and give it a different color. So we need to true it up first a little bit. We use our friend askew. So somewhere in about there. Might be a challenge to dig that deep with the skew right off the bat. Not to mention this hackberry is actually pretty kind of tough stuff, a little bit tough stuff. So we'll drop it down, drop the diameter down a little bit. It's a low peeling cut. Not quite sure why it wants to chatter a little bit. Not quite enough dry. That's a good near with the spindle guys. I can't see what I'm doing, and that's dangerous with the skew. Yeah, we got her. Skew will not remove big bulk material. It'll just fight you to death. Of course, if you watch the guys, some of the guys that's on the social media platforms that are they're really very good with it. They make it look a whole lot easier than what I do. I'll switch over to a spindle gouge. This time, that last one I made straight. This time, how about we give it a little bit of a cove? Okay. This is it's a little straight in, I think. I think we'll give our taper first, and then we'll see where we're at from there. Got some grain going every which way but loose right there, I would say. Definitely, definitely chunk that up there. You can still pick up. Feels like it anyhow. Somewhere. Yeah, right there's little chunks. Got a little dark streak in this one too. Yeah, let's just keep going at it. It's a really sort of a dangerous cut to make with the skew is to try and come in off of the end like that. It's really a quick way to have a really nice catch. Thinking this angle needs to be a little bit longer. As well as a little bit more of a taper. That's not, I'm not undercutting that at all. I'm actually cutting it going outward, which works okay. I think that'll be it. We're gonna make it be it. Put it that way. Just inspect and make sure I don't have any places. Like I say, some of these open grain woods like this can really decide to not be very friendly. Pick up the grain, pick chunks out. It's always good when you can get to start with. I started with 220 because there was nothing picked up, nothing really out of whack that you need to start any coarser than that. At least that's my opinion. We're going to dye this one too. I think this is the last piece of the hackberry. And there's what I was talking about. There is a little bit of chipped up grain down in there. I didn't see that. Shoot. Go in both directions because it's picking it up in one direction, not the other. There's still a little bit there, but I'm going to leave that alone. The grain filler will fill that in, unfortunately, but otherwise, if it really worried me that much, I would actually have to recut that. It'll look all right. Open the pores back up. It will accept the dyes much better, especially seeing how they are alcohol based. Anyhow, cleans off some of the dirt. And I forgot to burn the line. See if we can get warm enough to actually catch it on fire. Shouldn't be, but you never know. Burn line is just a simple little detail to add to things. Is it going to stand out on this piece? Well, that remains to be seen. I wanted a purple. There is my purple and the chestnut. It's not a super dark purple. That'll be alright. Not sure that that's worthy of trying to give it a grain fill or not. Surprised that didn't come out darker than what it did. It's on a white background, but try and get rid of some of the shellac. Even though I'm going to probably turn around and put more on it, but it'll help even the color out a little bit. When you dye things, you'll find any imperfections you have. There's a dark spot that's kind of suspect to possibly being something a little bit wrong there. If I was more energetic, I would use the airbrush for this. This is really the ideal way of doing this. We'll just do it by hand. Nice little light coat out across there. And then we'll sort of let it spin dry. I also got to do up in the top part there a little bit yet with the dye and the shellac. How are you doing tonight, George? Shellac will dry pretty quick. I can also help it along, generate a little bit of heat. Ultimately, we're just going to be sitting this one off to the side anyhow. Just makes it a little easier to get take a hold of it. It's just a little bit tacky. Probably best if I put my other glove on to do that. So we need a little drop of dye to finish out that top. Oh, I actually have a that's almost tempting. I have there's a nice little line where I wasn't able to get. It's almost tempting to leave that alone, but I know better than to do that. It would be that would look probably would look dumb at the end result wouldn't be the way I wanted it. So a little dye, hang a little bit of shellac down in there. We'll sit this one off to dry. And since they are such little pieces, we may sort of force this magenta one to dry. Ideally, you should let this dry for quite a while. See if I can find my silver. Now I bought one. Hmm. Gold. Hmm. There it is. I already hit it open. This is Chroma Guild from from Chroma Craft. A little bit on your finger, sort of rub it around because we don't want big globs in there. Hopefully this shellac is dry enough to do this. May not be. So we'll just get it covered and then we'll spin it and take the excess off of it. Should just leave what's in the grain there. Never really tried it on something this small. So let's see if it's going to come off with just the paper towel. It's usually how I would do it. Like I say, I figured this hackberry is going to have lots of places that has open grain to it. Probably a little bit more than what I'm also pushing it a little bit time wise. Ideally would be to let the shellac dry overnight. Got to look all right. And once again, it's. I think if you've ever been here and watched me do some of this before, you're not stuck with this, so to speak, because you can come back once I get it all done. I can show you. You can come back with a little bit of a mineral spirits, even as far as the next day, or even after that. See if I can get a nice even coat on that rim, and then I won't do anything on the inside. That'll be all end grain. That end grain does not look very nice, I don't think, to me. And we're getting quite a bit back off. My downfall is it went straight into that burnt black line in there. And as usual, we managed to wipe some completely off in there. Not the end of the world, just go back after it again. This stuff dries pretty quick, for one. It is some sort of an oil-based product. Like I say, the mineral oil will cut it. So if I was to come back later on today or tomorrow or something like it, and I don't like, which I'll probably just leave this one alone. I'll do a live stream tomorrow night and show you if you come stop back tomorrow evening about 6 o'clock or a little after. But that's going to make that pop. There's a lot more end grain or open grain and less room. Like up in this area here, there's more room in between. I could take just a little bit of mineral spirits. See if I can get it a little bit, maybe a little bit brighter. I took a whole bunch off. Did it take too much off? That'll be the, smeared it. But it took some more of it off. That's where I like to let it dry. Dry overnight or whatever. And come back to it then another day. Because when you do it after the fact, then it really will only take off. And we might not have gotten that sealed quite as well as it could have. I normally do that with the airbrush. And I get a much better coating, a more even coating. So that's that little guy. Purple one's gonna sit till tomorrow. I'm not gonna mess with that one. Is it? I think we're gonna be done. It is messy. That's why you wear the. I've seen a lot of people do this without gloves on. I'm not one of them. I don't want silver stained fingers. And otherwise, if you did it with your fingers, then you gotta clean your fingers with mineral spirits and that. And none of that stuff is overly healthy for you. So I think that's where we're gonna call it a night. Call it a day. Evening. Go get a little supper. And we will be back tomorrow night, 6 o'clock ish. See what we can get into tomorrow night. We made enough weed pots tonight. Although I do have more hackberry here, so who knows? We may do some more of them. Probably not, but so that needs to dry. Once it's completely dry and I'm happy with the way it looks. I mean, completely dry is really only a couple hours from now. If I was going to be down here for another couple hours. So I mean, I'll show you what it looks like on the upright. Get it in the right place so it's on the camera. It doesn't show overly well there. Like I say, I was sort of pushing the envelope a little bit. So that'll dry till tomorrow. And then we'll use some more mineral spirits on and try and get some of the color back down to where it was at. And we'll definitely be doing more of that tomorrow night. More of the same. Because here's tomorrow night's piece that gets grain filled. This is a piece that has been torched. Camera's in too close really for it. This is a little ash pot. It's been torched, so this is all very much texture. That also will get grain filled. Probably where we'll start at tomorrow night. Get some of the UFOs done. But till then, if you haven't smashed that little subscribe button, it would be greatly appreciated if you would do so. Otherwise, we will see you another day and have a wonderful evening.